Hi, my name is Paige Montgomery, and my country of choice is New Zealand. The flag's blue background represents the Pacific Ocean. The Union Jack in the upper left-hand corner is recognition that New Zealand was once a British colony. The stars on the right are of the Southern Cross, which emphasize its location in the South Pacific. The first flag was officially adopted on June 12, 1902. For several decades, there has been debate about changing the flag. In 2016, a vote was taken on this issue. The country voted 57% in favor of keeping the existing flag. Here we have a couple maps of New Zealand. It is located approximately 4,100 kilometers southeast of Australia. It is located directly south of Papua New Guinea, Australia. It is geographically positioned on both the southern and eastern hemispheres. New Zealand is completely surrounded by the Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, and a series of bays, gulfs, seas, and straits. The capital of New Zealand is Wellington, located on the southern tip of the northern island. The size of the country is roughly 268,800 square kilometers. The population is 4.794 million people as of 2017. New Zealand is a member of the British Commonwealth, and the sovereign is represented by a Governor-General. Within the Commonwealth, New Zealand is autonomous and is governed by a House of Representatives with 121 elected members of Parliament from 6 different political parties. The present government is the first to be elected under a system of proportional representation. The history of New Zealand dates back to the 1300s when it was discovered and settled by Polynesians who developed a distinct Maori culture. The Dutch were also the first non-natives to explore and chart New Zealand's vast coastline. From the late 18th century, the country was regularly visited by explorers, other sailors, missionaries, traders, and adventurers. In 1840, the Treaty of Waitangi was signed between the British Crown and various Maori chiefs, bringing New Zealand into the British Empire, giving Maori the same rights as British people. In 1919, New Zealand signed the Treaty of Versailles and joined the League of Nations, pursuing an independent foreign policy while its defense was still controlled by Britain. Fast forward to the 1950s. The Maori began moving to the cities in large numbers, leading the development of a Maori protest movement, which also led to greater recognition of the Treaty of Waitangi. In New Zealand, 16 different religious sects are represented. The Anglican Church is the largest at 18.4%, followed by the Catholic Church at 13.8%, and the Presbyterian Church at 13.4%. 26.5% of people have no religious affiliation. Remembering one's ancestors has become increasingly important in New Zealand. Most households are not complete without pictures of significant ancestors. Food is also another important aspect in New Zealand culture. A customary Maori cooking method is hangi, which is prepared underground using heated rocks that are buried in a pit oven. Food, usually meat, is placed on top of the stones and the items are covered with flax mats for 3 hours during the cooking process. These meals are usually reserved for special occasions. Here's a breakdown of the different languages used in New Zealand. English has long been an official language in New Zealand. It is the predominant language used in parliament, government, the courts, and the education system. Maori is the language of the indigenous Maori people and has been an official language by statute since 1987. As you can see, Samoan, French, Hindi, and Northern Chinese are also other languages used in the country. Here you can see a picture of the New Zealand national rugby union team called the All Blacks. They represent New Zealand in the men's rugby union, which is known as the country's national sport. The team has won the last 2 Rugby World Cups in 2011 and 2015, as well as the inaugural tournament in 1987. The All Blacks are famous for their haka, or traditional war cry and dance, that is seen as a challenge from the Maori people and describes the ancestors and events from the history of the tribe. It involves large amounts of shouting, as well as the use of arms and legs to intimidate the opponent. New Zealand celebrates many holidays similar to those celebrated in the United States, such as Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas, and New Year's. New Zealand also celebrates some of its own holidays. February 6th is National Waitangi Day, in celebration of signing the treaty back in 1840. Anzac Day, which is observed on the 25th of April each year, is a national day of remembrance commemorating all Australians and New Zealanders who served and died in all wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping operations, and the contribution and suffering of all those who have served. June 4th is the celebration of the Queen of England's birthday. Boxing Day is also celebrated on the 26th of December. New Zealand has an abundance of recreational activities. Travelers from around the world come to participate in extreme adventure sports such as bungee jumping, hiking, skiing, mountain climbing, and river rafting. Without a doubt, it's the landscapes that are New Zealand's major attractions. Other attractions might include going to the beach or walking the set of Hobbiton from The Lord of the Rings. The New Zealand dollar is the currency and legal tender of New Zealand. Currently, 0.69 US dollars is equal to 1 New Zealand dollar. Within New Zealand, it is almost always abbreviated with the dollar sign, which is used to distinguish it from other dollar-denominated currencies. It is often informally called the Kiwi or the Kiwi dollar, since New Zealand is commonly associated with the indigenous bird. The gold $1 coin depicting the kiwi can be seen in the top left corner picture. New Zealand is a primary exporter of dairy products, meat, wool and wood products, fish, and machinery. Main export partners include Australia, China, the United States, and Japan. Main import goods include machinery and equipment, vehicles and aircraft, petroleum, electronics, and plastic. Main import partners include their main export partners, Australia, China, the US, and Japan, as well as Germany, South Korea, and Malaysia. Here is an overview of the country's economy. It is the 53rd largest national economy in the world when measured by GDP. In 2017, GDP was measured at $186.4 billion. Inflation is up 1%, while unemployment is up to 4.5% as of the fourth quarter of 2017. New Zealand has been ranked number 1 under the Ease of Doing Business ranking. New Zealanders are relatively indirect communicators. They do their best to avoid conflict and take careful measures to remain polite throughout discussions. Swearing is more common in New Zealand than in many other cultures, so it is normal to hear people cuss mid-conversation. Television programs are also less censored. Prolonged silence can make people grow uncomfortable, so many New Zealanders choose to fill the gap with conversation. Eye contact should be maintained directly, but intermittently broken. There should be enough eye contact to show sincerity, but not too much as that may seem scrutinizing. People in New Zealand tend not to touch each other very much unless they are close friends. Touching someone on the shoulder or the arm in order to emphasize a point is generally acceptable. However, people tend to keep about an arm's length distance between one another when having a conversation. Finally, certain gestures like raising one's middle finger or making the peace sign with your palm facing toward yourself is considered very rude. On the business culture side of communication, meetings are very similar to dealings in the United States and Australia. First meetings are usually used to build trust and get to know each other on a more personal level. Humor is often used to break the ice before discussing business. It is also used throughout dealings to lighten up the setting. Bargaining tactics are rarely used by New Zealanders. They prefer realistic figures, so it is important to support your position with facts and figures, avoiding claims that cannot be supported or demonstrated. Decision-making is often a slow process. When it comes to negotiations, it is best to avoid putting New Zealanders in high-pressure situations that are confrontational or pushy, as that will likely not have positive results. Finally, if you wish to communicate the benefits of your product or service, it is best to demonstrate this to them rather than simply telling them. This concludes my presentation on the country of New Zealand. Please feel free to reach out to me if you find that you have any questions. Thank you.